This episode of Lore Drop is sponsored by Lisa Baker.
Hi, Mom!
Yeah, like he is on the same level as Ted, which someday we might talk about Ted.
Wait, who?
Who? Welcome to Lore Drop, a reinvent podcast where we talk about all things lore in the reinvent universe. My name is Abby. I'm the executive director of Reinvent Productions.
I'm Ben, the creator and artistic director.
And our guest today, our third party member, is
Liz. Hi.
We had Liz on a couple weeks ago talking about Dark Fog and the character that she played in Ordinary Heroes, and also got to talk about a couple of other characters that she's played in the Reinvent universe on stage. Today, though, we are going to be talking about the notorious Andrew Blood. And the reason that we asked Liz to be on this podcast is that she is most likely the biggest Andrew Blood fangirl there is. And we are going to find out if that stays the same after talking about the horrific things that this man has done. But first, before we dive into that, we must decide what animated trio we are today.
Okay, so the only trio I could think of in this moment is the Powerpuff Girls,
and I think that that's great.
Perfect.
Which one's which? I think you have to be Bubbles.
I have to be Bubbles, of course. Ben, do you want to fight me for Bubbles?
I'm good.
I think I'll be Blossom. You can be Buttercup.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, that works great. I was such a Buttercup girly as a kid, and I was like, I don't want to be Blossom. Blossom's pink. But now growing into my adulthood, I'm like, oh yes, I am a Blossom.
You're accepting your Blossom now.
I'm accepting that. But Andrew Blood, one of the earliest characters written in Reinvent, one of the first 10 characters. So tell us about him.
Yeah, Andrew Blood is a character is a key operator within Gemstone Industries and also the head of the Blood Oath Militia, at least while it exists. Andrew has the Bloodstone Power Ring, which grants him Umbra kinetic abilities, which means he can do things with shadows. He can create and control shadows. He can make solid objects from shadows. And he can also merge with any naturally occurring shadow and teleport and travel through it. Some of his notable allies, his personal big three, are Evan Dawson, Mason Stone, and Screech. And then notable adversaries, of which there are many, but if we narrow it down, there is Maurice Williams, Severica Agriver, Aurora Remington, and Mariana Alphonse. Andrew's first real-world appearance in terms of Reinvent came in the Cataclysm campaign, the first D&D campaign that I ran. He appeared in session number 2 when he encountered the party when they first arrived in Dustria City. He sort of arrived under the guise of being their welcome party, threatened them immediately, said, "Get out of here." And then the DCPD showed up and he said, "I've got bigger fish to fry." And then Severica tried to fight him and take him in. And so in order to put her in her place and show her that she was out of her league, he killed the smuggler, John Winslow. And that was his very first appearance. And then he got away.
What a welcome.
Yeah, quite the welcome.
You say, "Oh, welcome. Screw you guys."
Yeah, that is the Dustria City welcome.
That's crazy.
After that, Andrew is one of the primary antagonists in the Cataclysm story. And from here on out, if you're looking forward to Cataclysm, major spoiler warnings for the whole series, really. We start off with the Welcome to Dustria City arc. This starts in 2016 in universe year. And so Andrew, after that encounter at the docks of Dustria City, he ambushes the party, which at this point consists of Severica, Navita Vega, and Reaper. He ambushes them at the Dustria City Central Museum after enlisting the help of the bandits' trade union, specifically Wilhelm Knochin and Owen Cambio. Also with his group here are Mason Mason Stone and Screech, because he was tasked with retrieving these 3 new visitors to the city and bringing them back to Gemstone Industries to meet the CEO, Cole Johnson. And they offered the party to join Gemstone Industries, which they promptly said no.
With stronger language than that.
Absolutely. But so Andrew then went along with some court spots, specifically court spots Theta and Iota, to pursue the party, and led into the big confrontation at the end of this arc, in which the party had to choose between siding with Gemstone, the DCPD, the Bastions, or the Bandits. Severica and Navita went to join the DCPD, Reaper joined the Bandits, and so Andrew was also left with one less court spot because Iota got destroyed in the process.
Rats.
And so after that, the next time we see Andrew, the next time he's doing things is in the Council of 3 arc. Later in that same year, Andrew is present at a negotiation between the Council of 3, the executive body of Dustria City's government. So Gemstone is offering court spots as a supplement to the DCPD and their law enforcement. And so Gemstone is there to negotiate the deal with the DCPD and the Council of 3. And Andrew is part of this group here who's here to negotiate because he's also on the board of directors at Gemstone Industries.
What?
Yeah. At least at this time he is. And so during this meeting, an assassination happens, and 2 of the 3 members of the Council of 3 are assassinated. The last one left is Roy Smith, and Andrew and Screech end up teaming up with the party to escort Roy Smith to safety. So they have to work alongside Andrew here. Little bit do they know, this is actually a ploy. Gemstone Industries did, in fact, orchestrate this assassination. And so they also hired bounty hunters afterwards. And so in their journey to escort Roy to safety, they were ambushed by a bunch of bounty hunters who then kidnapped Roy Smith. And then afterwards, Andrew and Screech went off on their own. And sort of everyone goes off to search for Roy throughout the city. And so what happens is that Andrew ends up setting up a trap alongside his team of Mason, Evan, and Screech. They set up a trap for the Bastions and Maurice Williams. And this leads to a fight with Andrew and Maurice, which Andrew handily wins before the Bastions save Maurice. And this is all to save time for Gemstone Industries to convince Roy to be with them. And so then it comes out, okay, Gemstone found him, and he agrees that the DCPD needs the court spots because clearly their manpower wasn't enough to protect the Council of 3. And so that is the first big W for Gemstone Industries.
Does Roy ever find out that Gemstone is the one who...
Absolutely.
When did he find out?
Within minutes.
Oh, well...
It's, okay, you're taken by the bounty hunters, and then you're brought to Cole Johnson to talk about this.
So it was either kind of get
that's a story for a different episode.
Get dead or do the thing.
Yeah.
Roy Smith is also a bad person.
Yeah. Not as bad, but
I don't like Roy Smith.
So the next thing that Andrew does is he is given a new mission then. He is tasked with figuring out what is needed to activate the Emerald Power Ring. This is the one power ring of the opening lineup of them that is not working for whatever strange reason. And they need it to work because it is at the core of all of their big plans that Gemstone has for Dustria City.
And just for clarification, Gemstone is the one who made the power rings.
Yes, there's a specific person at Gemstone who made the power rings, but he left shortly thereafter, and he destroyed all of his notes, and so they don't know why it doesn't work. And so
it's very inconvenient.
Yeah. So Andrew is then given the task. He's like, figure out how it works. And so Andrew just one day decides he wants to wreak a little bit of havoc on Maurice a little bit, and decides that him and his buddies, his team, which is always going to refer to Mason, Evan, and Screech, they kidnap one of Maurice's childhood friends to try and antagonize him and get him to turn to the dark side a little bit there. In doing so, Maurice and the party find this friend, and then Maurice has this burst of energy of these multicolored flames overtake his body, and he has undergone a powering awakening. His powers have increased exponentially, and he gets new powers on top of the ones he already had. And so this leads to a quick rematch between Maurice and Andrew, which Maurice very easily wins this time. He beats Andrew and Mason, Evan, and Screech all by himself.
Nice. Good W for
And
Maurice.
so this is still a little bit of a win for Andrew because he figures out what is needed to activate this emerald ring. He finds out that within these power rings, this emotional event triggers what is called an awakening, which floods the ring and the person wearing it with this new kind of energy called A energy. And so that energy is what is needed. A large accumulation of it is going to be needed to activate the emerald ring. And so he sets out to figure out how to make more people's rings activate. And so his first target is Owen Cambio. Owen's brother Oswald is in intensive care and is basically in a coma. And so Andrew goes and visits the hospital that Oswald is being kept at and just pulls the plug.
Oh my gosh!
And
I wish we were recording this for Liz's facial reaction as she's listening to this story.
And this is sort of part of a whole saga of Andrew specifically screwing over Owen and the bandits in these series of events. But yeah, so that does lead to Owen's onyx power ring being awakened. Andrew has to take a quick detour, though, after that in the Order of the Unbound arc at the beginning of 2017. At this point, the Order of the Unbound, this group of monks, are sort of not invading, but they are attacking various groups and people within Industrial City for some mysterious purpose. One of this is Andrew. So Andrew and his team are ambushed in their hideout by Flip, a member of the Order of the Unbound, who has shadow and light powers. And so Flip, in this confrontation, is able, with the rest of the monks that she brings along with her, does beat Andrew and his team, and they kidnap Screech and Evan in the process. And so Andrew and Mason sort of drop everything that they're doing and say, okay, cool, we have to get them back. And so what happens is Andrew and Mason end up in the finale of this arc joining forces with the DCPD yet again to raid the Order of the Unbound hideout and recover Screech and Evan. And once again, Andrew still can't get back to his main mission yet because there's another quick detour after that in the Tournament of Champions, also in 2017, when Andrew participates in this sort of like this tournament that is held between this pantheon of gods where they all choose their like mortal representatives from Earth to represent them. So Andrew is one of Caius's 40 champions that he chooses, and he competes in the Tournament of Combat. And in Industrial City, he's a pretty big fish in that small pond, and he is eliminated in the second round of the combat tournament by a fighter with mysterious robotic augmentations.
He probably wasn't happy about
and
that.
so he was absolutely not happy about that. And so that is his participation there is being swiftly put in his place, and sort of everyone else is like, oh, wow, we're up against some crazy people. But yeah, and so the next thing for Andrew, he finally gets back to his A energy collection in a bunch of side stories that happened between 2017 to 2018. One of the big ones that he does is that he kidnaps Adam Dahl and subjects him to carbon monoxide poisoning. What happens is that he has brought him there, and Andrew is just in his day job as well at the Blood Money Casino. This is also when so the party, which at this time consists of Severica, Navita, and Agatha, they follow the trail of Adam getting to this casino, and they find Andrew, and he confronts them in public where they can't start a fight. But also here, our Order of Heroes members, Wingman and Burst, are also here to help out with this investigation. But he tells them, he's like, you've got about 3 minutes before there's irreparable damage to Adam. And so they do find Adam, and they do save him. He does not die from the carbon monoxide poisoning, but he is basically in this sort of like coma state, and it is when the party gets him back to a doctor, they say, if he wakes up, he's probably going to have like really bad brain damage, and given that Adam's power, his moonstone powering, lets him control gravity, that's a really scary thought. And so they manage to get Adam's power ring off of him, at which point his girlfriend, Annie Den, is also there. She's also the DCPD, but she has the aquamarine power ring, and this whole event leads to her ring awakening. And so that's a pretty rough one. In another instance, Andrew does confront Severica and Thomas Jones, and in the process holds a gun right next to Thomas's Thomas's ear and just fires it like completely empties the clip. So all of those gunshots going off right next to Thomas's ear completely deafens him. And so he basically sends Thomas to go find Navita, who he is also partners with at this time, to seek healing. And at this point, and Thomas also proposes, which leads to Thomas and Navita's power rings awakening from that. So it's not just negative
Yeah, I was about to say, I was
events.
like, okay, so we got some positive emotions
Yes.
can cause it. So
Yes.
it has to be a large emotional reaction.
Yes, yeah, a strong emotional event is what it takes. And so that's a 2-for-1 deal as Navita heals Thomas and they become engaged and both of their rings awaken. But Andrew is not done with Thomas yet. Because he does also later on blackmail Thomas. So he approaches Thomas at one point, brings up some information from Thomas's past, which no one else knows about, and so tells him, hey, I need you to get Severica's ring awoken, because I can't get anywhere near her. She will fire her gun the second she sees me. And so John goes and kills Severica's animal companion, John the Owl, snaps its neck. And so Severica, in the process of trying to get John healed, John, being a product of Caius's magic, cannot be healed with mortal magic. And Caius, at this point, is not allowed to interact with any of his former champions. And so John the Owl dies, and Severica's ring is then awoken as well.
Man, okay, hold on. Some tabletop background. So our friend John is the one who created Severica and ran her for 2 campaigns. And I always thought it was like, oh, you named the owl John, like whatever. I know it was like after a character.
This is named after John Winslow, the smuggler who died
I know,
way back when they first met.
But I still was like, oh, it's like same as your name, ha ha ha. And I was always like, okay, yeah. Severica and Jonathan hate Andrew Blood, but like that sucks. I didn't realize that that's how the owl died.
And that's the thing. That's something as well. John never knew that's what happened. He just came back one night and was like, oh, John is dead. John's neck has been snapped.
Did you ever tell Mr. Bogart about it?
Nope, he never figured it out. So he'll figure it out when he listens to this. 10 years later.
That's crazy.
Oh,
no. He's going to hate Andrew even more now.
Yeah. But that goes on to the next big thing as well with the Emerald Conspiracy arc, in which Andrew is sort of like figured out how to gather all of these people with their awoken power rings into one place at the DCPD in the 17th precinct. And so at this point, the list of people who are present here with their power rings awoken are Severica, Navita, Thomas, Maurice, Annie, Neil Sanders got his ring awoken by a different circumstance not related to Andrew, and then Mike Walsh at this point also has a power ring and his ring is also awoken. And so that is 7 power rings that are all awoken in one spot that he has sort of pulled the strings to orchestrate. And so Andrew then ends up leading a confrontation with his team. So he brings Mason, Evan, and Screech along with Sarah Johnson, Helena Oyashina, and Mary Soleil, 3 more power ring users from Gemstone, as well as a mysterious cyborg named Cord. Now this cyborg is the one who beat him in the Tournament of Champions, but he found out later on that this robot, this cyborg named Cord, is John Winslow, the smuggler who he killed.
Crazy.
And so
Liz is on the edge of her seat.
Yeah, this was a deal that was constructed between Gemstone and Cord's new owners in the city of Sartopolis, the underwater city. They said, hey, loan them to us for a couple weeks. And they said, sure. And so Andrew basically sent John here to get them off their guard, and then returning here as well. He's like, okay, cool. So this big fight ensues. In this fight, Maurice or Andrew takes a second to drag Maurice outside through shadow teleportation, and they have a heart-to-heart chat between one another. They talk as people for the first time, and Andrew shares some of his backstory with Maurice, specifically that Andrew grew up in Dustria City. He's born and raised here, but his dad was diagnosed with terminal cancer when he was very, very young. And so his dad died and left behind a large life insurance policy. But his mother still couldn't really deal with that. And so his mother then also committed suicide. But it was like the oven method. There's that one, I can't remember which poet it is, but that's like similar to that. And so it started...
Sylvia Plath.
Yes, Sylvia Plath. Very, very Sylvia Plath. And so Andrew and his dog Sunshine, which is a golden retriever, were rescued from the house by the fire department. And so Andrew was raised by one of those firefighters, Arnold Jonas, growing up. Eventually, Andrew was adopted by the Blood family. His original name was Andrew Christensen. But the Blood family adopted him, and he was brought into their family. And eventually, both of his adoptive parents did die just of old age, and so he was left their fortune as well. And there was one night, upon returning home, he found that his home had been broken into, and the burglars had shot and killed his dog Sunshine.
No!
And so at this point, everything that Andrew has loved in his life, as well as his other pseudo-adoptive parent, Arnold, had died in a firefighting event as well. Andrew has lost everything that he has loved ever in his life at this point as well, and has sort of vowed to destroy Dustria City by any means necessary. And so that is...
As he should.
Yeah. No, there are the circumstances leading up to him even getting his power ring. All of that is before he even has superpowers. And so, after sharing all of this with Maurice and getting some of this off of his chest, he says, and I now know what I have to do, because even with these 7 awakened ring bearers, it's not enough energy to activate the Emerald Ring. And he's like, it's not enough. I have to get a massive surge of A energy right now, or else this is going to be really bad, because this is an all or nothing gambit that he has laid all of his chips in. And so he teleports back into the building, and he realizes there's one way to easily awaken 3 rings right now, because he has 3 friends here who are very... a group of 4 of them together are very close and tight-knit. And so he goes back in, teleports right behind his friend Screech, and stabs him through the heart.
His friend?
Yeah, stabs one of his best friends. And in the instance, doing so awakens his ring, Evan, and Mason's rings all at the same time. This leading up to that grand 10 awakened rings at once, and it activates the Emerald Power Ring. He tosses it to Sarah Johnson, whose ring lets her teleport, and so says, get out of here. She teleports the rest of the Gemstone team away, and Andrew is left there in the DCPD in the 17th precinct, which is in shambles, like half destroyed at this point, and turns himself in because he is immediately regretting what he just did. And so...
I have a question.
Yeah.
Question from the audience. Okay, so unless you're going to explain it later, then you just cut all of this. But he knew that he was trying to awaken all of these other rings so that the Emerald Ring
would activate. Could even be used, because they would put it on people and it just wouldn't hold. Like
so that's been his main motivator and focus this whole time.
2 years.
Except he's just like awakening rings that are on people that aren't on his team.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's very curious behavior, but anyway, we can circle back. We can circle back. Okay.
Yeah, in doing so, he turns himself in, and then shortly afterward, the Emerald Protocol is put into place. Everyone in the DCPD is sent a message through their devices, their emails, their phones, activate the Emerald Protocol, and a la Captain America to the Winter Soldier, half of the DCPD turns on the other half and starts fighting and everything, and he takes a second to teleport out of there and get away. And that is the end of his participation in Cataclysm. That is the end of Cataclysm as a whole, really. And so it's not a happy ending for anyone. Except Cole Johnson, maybe.
I think it's interesting with the way that Cataclysm ends, as that was the first big reinvent thing that was a shared experience, because you had done some writing beforehand that has wildly changed, but still was a basis, but it was like you did it by yourself. And then the first time that you get a group of people together to tell a story and reinvent, it ends with the heroes losing. And something that you and I have talked about with like leading the company of Reinvent, that like we want our stories to have hope behind them, and like at the end of the day, like conveying the message that like good does conquer evil, because I mean that's the story that people want. Like no matter how grumpy or like whatever you are, like we as human beings want there to be happy endings with things, or even just hopeful endings. It doesn't have to be happy, but it is. I do think it's interesting that the first time with Reinvent that it was not a happy ending, and the heroes didn't win.
Yeah, well, and there's still a little bit of hope to it, because if anyone has listened to the Maurice episode before this knows that like the heroes do like reconvene and they make a new group called the Stand that they will fight back against Gemstone with. But yeah, it's a pretty dour one. And as well, I think it mirrors some of the circumstances, because unfortunately with that campaign, it became the thing of like there's one of two fates for any D&D campaign. Either you play it all the way through to the end and it's great, or it fizzles out because everyone sort of like stops being able to commit to it as much because of life circumstances. And so unfortunately the latter was what happened with this one, but I do think it is still an ending that does reflect Cataclysm Industrious City as a whole, because it's not a hopeless place, but it's not an easy place to be a good guy in. But that is not the end of Andrew's story.
Oh, no, it's not
By a long shot. So that all happened in 2018. After Cataclysm, Andrew is sort of around the year 2019. He is really burdened with remorse all over this. He can't really get over what he has done. And sort of as he's been punished by Gemstone Industries as well, because they said, hey, you killed one of our like top operators as well, not just one of your friends, like one of our like really good operatives. And so he is being punished he is no longer allowed to work with like people. They say, hey, you're only allowed to work with corpse bots now. Because they are disposable. And so if you're going to be unpredictable like that, sure, go for it, but not with like real people anymore. So he's being isolated from people, and he's really being sent on a lot of jobs like abroad all over the world of like things that it really seems like they are trying to get him killed. Because he's constantly being sent on very, very dangerous missions that he is like barely coming back alive from. And there's one point as well that he is also abandoned by Evan and Mason. Evan has a turn here. He, realizing that he has been complicit in all of this awful stuff so far, Evan leaves Gemstone Industries altogether and goes and joins the Stand, the heroic group that formed after the DCPD and everything. And Mason had a turn for the worse. It turned him incredibly violent. And so there was one night that Mason beat Andrew to a pulp and then just left him there to suffer.
To die.
Left him there to die. And so Andrew killed one of his friends and the other two left him. In all of this, dealing with all of this, he hears about this legend. He hears through these books that there is some connection between the mortal soul and emotions and being able to feel things, and he wants to just not feel anything anymore. And so he hears this urban legend about some island north of Dustria City where there is some creature, some demon who will collect souls. And so he journeys up there and he finds the demon Andromelic and offers his soul free of charge, no strings attached to Andromelic. He just says, I want to not feel this anymore. And Andromelic says, please and thank you. Be on your way.
Yep.
And so Andrew sells his soul. And he is without it for several years, and Andromelic just has it. The next time that Andrew is really seen as part of a story is in the Dynamite campaign, the second campaign. Because the party at this point, we now flash forward to the year 2026, 7 years later. The aliens are invading Earth, and the party, which at this point, Severica is back again on a new adventure, and she's here with Aurora Remington, Overkill, Adriana Collarbone, Gladius Maya is back as well, and then also Cicero Sharp's Iron Sights. In the party, journeys to Andromelic's island and his mansion of their own accord. And in this mansion, they find that Andrew's soul is being held captive in a soul candle. And it is one of those that, like, Andrew's body is out doing its own thing. Also, like, much more dangerous now that it is free of a conscience or anything. So he as well has become much more violent and dangerous in this sense as well. But the party now here, it was Severica and Aurora who found this candle.
Yes.
And
at a meta level, this was something me as Abby had known about Andrew Blood for a long time. And like you had told me stories, I'd read scripts. And so I was like, okay, I know this character semi well. I knew that John hated this character. And to be completely honest, I think I was irritated with John the day that we were playing this game or this session. And
but yeah, because you guys, the conversation started and Andrew had revealed, hey, I've been conscious and aware of what my body has been doing in here for the past 7 years. And Severica is about to start in like an actual tirade conversation, and Aurora just cuts the candle in half right there on the spot. No conversation had whatsoever because she was you want to explain it?
Yeah, so the way that I was playing it is that Aurora was able to just sense pure evil from this candle, and being part celestial, Aurora is an Asmar, and a lawful good Asmar. It was like one of those things where she was not handling it well on like a physical level, and like before, Andrew had like gotten his words out, and she was like, "Nope, we're not dealing with this."
Yeah.
And I knew I was like, John probably wants to have a long conversation with Andrew Blood right now, but Aurora does not want to have a conversation with this guy. And yeah, snuffed it out immediately.
But yeah, and so as a result of that, Andrew's soul, given that his body was still around and on Earth, whereas the rest of the souls they've been freeing would go on to the afterlife, Andrew's soul went back to his body. And so Andrew woke up in back at his home in Dustria City alongside his new partner Jane, who that's a completely different character that she'll get her own episode at some point. But wakes up all of a sudden with a soul in his body and says, "Whoa, that's really crazy." He has the combined memories of his soul and his body, and has a newfound vigor and love for life of like, ooh, okay, cool.
Time to be creative
a
again.
New lease on life. Yeah, he is very creative and intent on causing havoc to Severica still. And so what he does is that he is sent on a mission now with his Court Spot squad to go save Dr. Abraham Renard, the creator of the Court Spots, because the party in their journey to Andromelic's mansion had come across him and said, "Ooh, we should keep you for leverage in case Gemstone tries anything." And Gemstone had more resources than they were aware of, because Andrew brought a brand new prototype of a Court Spot that was also a tank. And so the thing is that the party was still inside of Andromelic's mansion fighting him, and the Lady Legacy was left unattended. The crew were all there, and so what happened is that Andrew, with his Court Spot squad, destroyed the Lady Legacy. They didn't like kill anyone; they just blew up the boat and took Dr. Renard and left. That was Andrew's like, thanks for freeing my soul to Aurora. And so now he was on her hit list now as well.
This guy, he's got to go.
Yep. And then his final contribution to the Dynamite campaign was in the 8 Days War arc. There was a Deus Ex Machina attributed to Andrew, in which he assisted in the 8 Days War by deploying a legion of Court Spots to help the forces of Earth fight the forces of Dravik in this giant war in the desert.
And he had to have a sassy phone call with it too.
Yep, he basically said, "You're welcome. You can thank me later," and that was his final farewell to them. But yeah, and then he has a little bit of stuff after the Dynamite campaign. He has a lot of stuff, but we'll talk about a little bit of it. The first main thing that he does is that Andrew is assigned as Gemstone Industries ambassador to Rondor. And so he is sent, now that Aurora is Queen of Rondor, there is new leadership in Rondor. They need to renegotiate the deal that is going on in regards to Rondorium and the Court Spots. And so Andrew, along with Roy Smith, goes to negotiate with the Queen and King of Rondor, Aurora and Beauregard Remington. Basically, in this negotiation, which isn't really a negotiation because Roy Smith's power is the power of persuasion, so he can give a command and the person just does it. And so this
is the script I had you read.
They get Aurora to sign the deal, and so Rondor will continue supplying Rondorium to Gemstone Industries. In return, Gemstone Industries will supply Court Spot security to Rondor. And before leaving, Andrew decides that he wants to do some experiments with how his shadow powers interact with Aasimar physiology, stabbing Aurora's light-based wings and leaving dark marks on them. And so that is his leaving note with Aurora.
Not nice.
Yep. And the next time that we see Andrew is in What If? The first stage play that we did, which is 5 years later in 2031. We go back to Dustria City now, and Andrew's contribution to the story is that Andrew is sort of there for the inciting incident. He gives Percy the mysterious Orthoclase power ring. This is a ring that was not created by Gemstone Industries, so they don't know what it does. But he says, "Hey, this weird teenage vigilante, I don't know, let me just see what happens if I give her this ring," because he's amused by her. And so he gives it to her and waits a few days. He is also tasked around this time. There was a recent escape from a Project Alpha facility. Some of their experiments, their human experiments, got out. And so he is tasked with finding them and bringing them back to Project Alpha. because Project Alpha is a subsidiary of Gemstone Industries. And so a few days later, Percy comes to Andrew, says, "Hey, I can turn back time." And Andrew says, "That's crazy. I don't
What?
believe you." And after a couple other versions of the conversation, he then believes her and gives her a little device that says, "Use this when you're in trouble." And so then at the very end of What If, Percy has to after realizing that she could not save Daphne from Glitch, Andrew gives her a not-so-kind pep talk. He has had a lot of time to reflect now with his soul being back on just how impactful The Stand and Maurice and Severica were to his life and Dustria City as a whole. And he realizes that the world needs heroes as much as it needs people like him who are not heroes, and basically tells her to suck it up. Bad stuff
Suck it up
happens.
and
You
we
live in
need to fix
Dustria
it.
City.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she rewinds time further, calls in Andrew. He doesn't remember that conversation he had with her, but he helps her defeat Glitch in the end, and then basically tells her, "Okay, you're moving to Rondor now." In essence, being in his mind, "You are too good for Dustria City. This city will chew you up, spit you out, and destroy you." Because that's what it did to me and to everyone else who's ever lived here.
Well, and also if Gemstone finds out what this kid can do with the
Exactly.
ring, like it's game over.
Because at this point, Andrew's main job with Gemstone is being sent to kill people. Or bring them to somewhere else to be experimented on. And so, yeah, that is what he does. He sends Percy and Daphne and her sister Daphne to live in Rondor, and being given a reverse pep talk by Percy, because she tells him that he could also be a hero if he wanted to.
And that's where he starts
Yeah.
to think about that.
Yep. And then the final bit of Andrew that we will share in this episode, because there's still some details that we want to keep secret. But his next appearance is in the Alcatraz mini campaign that was run. This takes place in the year 2034, so 3 years after What If. The U.S. government makes a deal with the Monster Hunter Association to exercise the island of Alcatraz because they want to start using it again. And so Beauregard, who is now sort of weird friends with Andrew,
Yeah.
they're pen pals. Beauregard is also on this mission to help exercise Alcatraz, and everything is going really, really poorly. There's about, of the 100 monster hunters that were sent on this mission, 5 are left alive. And so Andrew takes it upon himself to go save them. And so Andrew, in his first true act of like genuine heroism, shows up here on Alcatraz at like the 11th hour, as Beauregard is about to lose his soul because the ritual being conducted is one to bring back Andromalic. And so Andrew joins the fight here at the final moment to save Beauregard's soul and stop Andromalic from being brought back to the material plane. And that is the last time that anyone saw something in the timeline from Andrew that we'll share.
I was like, there's more to it. But like, Liz, let me tell you about this guy. Even more. So after the stuff with Aurora, the first interaction, because this is the kind of person that Andrew is, the other thing is that he basically is like their point person for this negotiation of like Gemstone basically siphoning their very valuable natural resource in exchange for helping them come into the 21st century and whatever. So they have a mandatory phone call once a month. And it like basically wears her down. And they do end up becoming like this weird friendship does occur years down the line. But like in the first couple years of this like relationship, he's the kind of guy that sends like the most gorgeous Christmas presents or like birthday presents to the kids. Like everybody is like, "Oh my gosh, Uncle Andrew sent like the most beautiful thing," and Beauregard and Aurora are like, "Oh, this stupid guy." I hate him. But it is it's been so interesting kind of like playing with that, especially after What If, because I don't think we went into developing that show with the intention of it necessarily being whenever Andrew becomes an anti-hero into his hero arc, because Ben and I both knew that that's how Andrew's story would turn, that like at some point he does become a semi-heroic person. But I remember that there was like one, I think it was after a rehearsal that you had said like, "Oh, I think that this is the turning point for him." And I just think that that's just fun, because I remember being almost nervous to ask you, being like, can we put Andrew on stage,
Yeah.
please? Because this is Ben's favorite character,
Yeah.
which is crazy. So, what do you think after hearing it? Do you still like Andrew?
I mean, of course. Maybe I love him even more after hearing it all. I know. I know you chose me because of my adoration for Andrew Blood, but I couldn't. I think this is. So I said this already earlier, but I met Liz, Andrew Blood, for the first time in the What If storyline as he's starting his journey, anti-hero journey. And so what a trope, man.
Yeah.
Like that's exactly it. It's this bad guy that's like, but I'm a bad guy. You don't want to stick around here, kid. I'm a bad guy. I've done bad things, but I'm going to get you out of this, and I'm going to help you out, and I'm going to send you somewhere to be safe so your life isn't bad like my life is bad. Like that's it. That's 100%. I'm like hard eye emojis everywhere, fully in love. Like that's meeting Andrew Blood. I also will say favorite X-Men besides Rogue is Wolverine.
Nice.
Wolverine specifically is my hall pass. Take that out, leave it in, whatever you want to do with that. But yeah, I'm like, and it's very much like those vibes, right? Like he's had, his life has been so long and filled with like all of these hard things. He's made bad choices. He's lived long enough to see the repercussions of those bad choices. And then also like having that time period being like away from his soul too, and his consciousness, and like even I don't know about you, Abby. Yeah, probably. Have you ever felt a time that you're like, I wish I cared less? Like it would be so much easier to live a life and not care as much as I care.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. 100%. And then Andrew lives that life, and then he's like reinvigorated. No, he does some bad stuff after he's reinvigorated, but like he gets his soul back, and then he's like, oh wow, life has so much more meaning when you like care about what you're doing. Now, okay, sure, he's doing some bad things, but then he does some good stuff too. And also, let's just go back to the beginning for a second. These are all the things I was like, how curious. So he's awakening all these rings, right? Okay, but for people who are his adversaries, and do good things happen in spite of bad things? Sure, all the time. Are there like flowers that come from like the crap of the world? Yes. But all you told me is he like brought together these two loves. He gave all these people
After
powers after hurting them. For sure. I mean, am I glossing over that a little bit? Maybe. But like
I mean, that is something, but like, a la Andrew, he would definitely, like, if he had like a conversation with Thomas and Navita, he'd be like,
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Exactly.
And I didn't get an invite to the wedding. How dare you?
Oh my word. Absolutely. That is a direct quote from Andrew Blood.
Yeah. And he doesn't like, he's, activating or help assisting by doing bad things. I'm not negating that, but like assisting, awakening all of these rings with an end game for himself in mind, which we established, but like people that are not on his side, like he's making people more powerful that are against him, that are fighting against him. Is that part of like his own self-loathing a little bit? Is that part of like what he thinks that he deserves, even though he's like doing this bad thing? He's empowering the people that are fighting against that. Like, did he always a little bit want the good guys to win?
Yeah, I think there's definitely part of that, because in his whole thing working with Gemstone Industries, there is a point where it turns into a spiteful thing too, because he realizes that Gemstone Industries, because his goal is just the total destruction of Dustria City. He wants it wiped off of the face of the earth. And there's a point where he realizes that Gemstone Industries is intrinsically and like tied to Dustria City as a place and a concept, and it's like a load-bearing thing that is tied to it. And so he's like, cool, I'm working for the thing that keeps this city running. And so I think part of that is absolutely like, okay, cool, I could have awoken all the ring bearers in Gemstone, but if I do this, then my job stays a little bit interesting, and they'll also work on their own things. It keeps them distracted away from me for a while. But especially after he gets his soul back, he's like, cool. Also, the past 7 years, the company has done nothing for me. And in fact, when he gives his soul away is when his body starts being a monster, basically, is when they like loosen up, like they lighten up on trying to get him killed. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. So I just need to be a little sneaky now.
Well, and so some details that we didn't share timeline wise, because they're a little up in the air. This some canon that Ben and I are figuring out. After he gets his soul back, he does get married to Jane, and they do have a son named Spencer Blood. And this was kind of a joke, but then I've been pushing for this to be canon. That one of Andrew's all abouts is that one of Andrew's hobbies is going and auditioning for musicals and plays, knowing full well that
he's gonna say no.
That he's gonna say no to whatever role.
When they get offered, yeah.
Because he's a very good actor.
That's so villainous.
And but I was like, Ben, this is an event that I've been pushing to be canon, and I don't know if Ben is like actually signed off on this yet or not, but that the one musical that Andrew Blood has done is Seussical. And Spencer was JoJo and he was Cat in the Hat.
Yeah.
Oh,
I feel like I've told you this already. Yeah, that's absolutely canon.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was, because it was a goofy little thing one time that I was like, can this be the thing? It's the one musical that he's ever done.
I love that.
And everybody's
so
like, oh my gosh, you need to do more. And like, he is like, he and Jane are such good parents, just not necessarily good people. But yeah, so like, there's that detail about him, that like he does become a family man. And I think it's interesting that, so Andrew is like not as major of a character in the Dynamite campaign, but it's after the Dynamite campaign, whenever he is around characters that are a little bit more hopeful, that he starts to change. It's like the idea that like being influenced by the people around you. You like kind of alluded to the fact that like it are there consequences afterwards, and like in the end, even though like he does does end up doing good things later in Andrew's timeline, there are severe consequences. And the difference with it is that by the time that Andrew gets to that point in his life, he kind of accepts the consequences and is like, okay, I understand why this is happening. But I think in a way, like, is able to forgive himself because of his friendship that he grows with Beauregard in particular. Because Beauregard's also one of those characters who has a lot of traumatic backstory, because what's a character without traumatic backstory? But like is one of those characters that had to learn how to give grace to himself. It's kind of funny how similar Beauregard and Andrew are to each other. That when he becomes, because I would argue that there is a point where Andrew does become a full hero, at least just for a little bit. But just because he becomes a hero doesn't mean that like the slate is wiped clean. Like there's still like repercussions for the atrocities that he has committed. But it's still able to end with hope, because what I really like about Andrew's story is that it is a story of redemption, and I think that's another theme, and that people look for right now, is that like can I come back from this? And like from mine and Ben's like spiritual background, is that like redemption always is possible if you reach out for it. And I really like that's how Andrew's story went. Because man, he started as a great bad guy, but it was so fun when you and I started kind of like, because I remember after the Dynamite campaign, I was like, how do we make Aurora and Andrew get to know each other? I was like, I obviously don't want a romantic thing to happen, because we had already started talking about Jane for Andrew, originally kind of being a Harley Quinn-esque character, and definitely changed from that for the better. But we were like, okay, well, like, how can these two extremely polar opposite people end up becoming friends? And they do end up becoming friends after many years of annoying phone calls at the beginning. And I really appreciate, as a collaborator, that you were willing to like share that character with me. And I don't know if you ever intended for him to have a redemption arc, at least like when you first started writing him, because he's he's such a great bad guy. Like he's a you love to hate him bad guy because he is so charismatic. I was saying this before we started recording that Ben is an amazing DM and will stay in character very, very well. And when he would embody Andrew when he was at the table, like everybody, like you feel like so prepared. You're like, I'm going to be able to like have like such great table talk with this, and then he starts talking as Andrew and you're like, shoot, he's a really good talker. And that was something I found with What If in the early, I mean, What If was only a 6-week process, but there were some times when we were like really in, the script was written, where I was kind of trying to like poke through and be like, oh, where's Ben? You stayed as Andrew the entire time, even when your nose got busted open on stage, which is crazy. I think that's like props to you as like a creator of a character that like, you know him so well. Like even with like, I felt so proud of myself when I showed you the draft of the script I'm working on for like the Ambassador to Rondor encounter, when you were like, oh, you wrote his dialogue really well, and I was like, really? I'm like learning how to write like you to honor the character that you've made, and I think that's really cool. And I think like just in general, people with Reinvent have been, as other people get to know the stories that you and I have been writing for a long time, that people are doing a really great job of like honoring what has started and then like adding on and being collaborative with one another and like being willing to like build off of each other.
I think to bring it back to Andrew again, kind of in that spirit, I think there are so many characters that you write, Ben, that are like so developed. And I know Andrew's been with you for a very long time. And so it makes sense that he contains multitudes and is like so multidimensional. But I think that, and again, meeting him in What If, not meeting him anywhere else in his timeline, you're meeting Wolverine when he's joining the X-Men begrudgingly, kind of like you
arguably got to meet him at probably the best time,
the best possible time.
Yeah.
And so, yes, maybe I would feel differently if I met him at another time, but also like with explaining no backstory, no lore drop, no info dump, I was like, I want to know him. I want to know this character, like so compelling, so charismatic, so like rich and deep. And obviously you playing the character that you've created and have known for so long. I think that was part of what made it so interesting.
Yeah.
But also he's such a good character. And again, or maybe I said this off mic, but I don't love villains. I'm not like rooting for the bad guy, but I love people, which includes all people, like the good guys and the bad guys. And I think the best types of villains are the ones that we can like understand as human beings at a foundational level. I love origin stories that have been created. I think some are well done. I think some are not. But like that was the part I was chomping at the bit earlier was for you to say like, okay, but why? But why? He started off this thing. He came into the scene like doing bad stuff, killing John and all that, and being a bad guy. But like, why did he do that? And he has like such, I mean, it's like if Batman chose to do bad stuff instead, you would like kind of understand a little bit of,
it's like, I get it,
some of those things, right? And you see them as people too, which I think that's important, not just in stories and like playing and fun, but like in humanity, like just living life is to see people's humanity. Like our humanity is so bound up within each other. We can only be humans or whatever, celestial beings or these things, but like we can only be that collectively, like, and so we have to see the humanity in people. And so I really enjoy that part too. So I was very excited to hear a story. I am unswayed. If anything, I'm more in love with Andrew Blood. I'm going to be honest.
I kind of figured that would happen. I did. And I think this is another off mic thing I said, with the definitive edition of What If, because we have different, the version that we did in July of 2024 was the first edition, and the second edition of What If is actually going to be produced at Coronado High School this year by Ben's theater class, and which I'm very excited to see teenagers take on actual teenage characters, instead of a 25-year-old playing a 17-year-old. But that's neither here nor there. But in the second edition of it is really just kind of fixing the grammar issues and like there's a few little plot things. I'm like, okay, let's clean this up so that way when it's produced again, it makes a little bit more sense. And I want there to be at least one scene because Daphne works for Gemstone as one of the Quartz Bots programmers, and I was thinking, I was like, there's gotta be, they have to have interacted at least once. And I really want to add a scene with Daphne and Andrew interacting that I will have to get Liz's stamp of approval for whenever I write it, but just because I just think that would be fun. And honestly, as like kind of a love letter to you of like how much you love like the baddie characters.
It's like a non-romantic, to be clear, for Daphne, but like a non-romantic like Felicity Smoke and Oliver Queen, you know, like,
like
that's good.
There's like a flirtatious tension, but not really,
but not acted upon
in in Daphne's sense of kind of like she knows damn well that Andrew Blood is a bad person.
Sure,
like absolutely knows, but I'm trying to decide if Andrew ever drops the bomb that he's like, yeah, no, I see your sister out doing vigilante stuff all the time.
I love this so much because it adds such like another layer to Daphne waiting for Percy to come home after like doing her superhero vigilante shenanigans and like knowing like, hey, where did you get this thing? Where is this coming from? Like her stealing Daphne's Quartz Bot translator, like all of those things, and then knowing she's working with Andrew too, like that's another of like, hold on a second.
Wait,
right?
This is the guy you're working with?
Yeah, I love that.
That might be the nail in the coffin for Daphne to be like, you stop doing this.
Yeah.
Which I've been kind of playing around with it. But another thing that I want to explore a little bit more deeply, there's the scene that we were mentioning before about how Andrew finds out that Percy's ring lets her turn back time. That is going to be a really hard thing for Andrew to process. That like arguably he has made the most powerful being with time travel that is a 17-year-old. But like looking back on like everything of like, are you kidding me? This is what it does. And a conversation that you and I were having a couple nights ago, because one of the times around when Percy is telling Andrew all this stuff, he threatens to throw her off a roof. It's like holding her at the edge of the roof, and she rewinds there because she's like, obviously I don't want to fall from this roof. And I was asking Ben, I was like, do you think that Andrew actually was like intending to kill her at that moment, in that version of the conversation? But then the next time around, so the third time that she is attempting to tell Andrew about this, she is scared to death of him. And that is Andrew has spent his whole, well, not his whole life, his adult life seeing fear in people's eyes, and it's amusing to him. But this is a moment where Andrew sees fear in someone's eyes, and it makes him not feel good. Like it makes him feel ill. And where Percy's basically begging him not to kill her, but like has to tell somebody about it. And I didn't know if you wanted to like speak on that. If that might have been like a point in his brain where like the clicks started happening towards the anti-hero route, or
well, I think especially because we'd mentioned I think previously that this is sort of a thing with Industrious City, that like it just produces tragic characters and tragic figures. There's something that is like the tragedy of this person in relationship to this city. That's sort of the underlying theme with that location. And I think that's part of that for Andrew as well, of like because he is also like, that's where he's lived his whole life. He is intrinsically tied to it, and it's like, yeah, there are people I love. I have a wife. He has a wife and a kid at this point around, and he's like, cool, I have to get them out of the city if I'm going to destroy it, right? And then now there's like, Percy is here too. He's like, cool, okay, this kid is genuinely, and I think that in that moment of being like, oh no, I don't feel good about the fact that this child is so terrified okay, this kid has got to go, has got to get out of here.
Well, because if Gemstone does find out, they will tell him to kill her.
Yeah.
Or
I don't think that's what's in his mind at that point. I think he'd like, regardless, and I think that's what he tells her at the end of the play. But that, like, what his priority is making sure, like we said, it's like if she stays around, the city is going to destroy her in one way or another. It's going to take something that is core to her as a person, and she'll never be able to get it back. And so I do think that is still Percy's tragedy in relation to Dustria City, is that she can't save it. She's not allowed to. Andrew won't let it happen. And that he's like, sorry, I can't let you stay here for my plans as well as your longevity. So I think there's still a little bit of selfishness to that, but he's realizing how to use his own self-centered goals for other people's benefit as well.
Yeah. I mean, and also it's just so funny to me that we decided to send her to Rondor.
Yeah.
This is where the term all roads lead to Rondor started kind of popping up for us because like we just keep making stories that like Ordinary Heroes is the first thing that we've done where Rondor isn't going to be mentioned.
Yeah.
Because Spy Show, I don't think it will be mentioned, but like one of the characters in Spy Show is from Rondor.
Mm-hmm.
And I know at least one of the short stories that's going to be in Spotlight this year has to do with Rondor. And it's a little tiny country in Universe 17, but so many stories can link back to that place. And I just think it's funny that at that point, the relationship that Andrew has with the Remingtons, he's like, okay, this is the best place to send a superpowered kid because like, even though Aurora and Beauregard aren't necessarily superheroes, they are heroes. And he's like, this is a safe place for this kid to thrive. And selfishly dumps them off. He's like, I know that this place will be fine. We'll just throw them over there. It'll be fine. Which is very Andrew. It's like, here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed
I
listening
did.
to the
I
lore
loved
drop.
it. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll give you a little bit of off mic insight afterwards that y'all don't get to hear. There'll be future things that will reveal it. But we want y'all to be able to enjoy that in story form instead of us just doing a lore dump for it.
Yeah.
But Andrew Blood will return frequently.
Yeah.
And
Yay.
he's a very fun character within Reinvent. Do you have any special shout outs you want to give before we wrap up?
No, nothing. Just thank you guys for having me and letting me be a part of this.
Our next episode of Lore Drop is going to be talking about the Children of Destiny with Emily Kilgore. That is a wonderful conversation. We've already recorded that one. And I was so happy with just the insight that we were able to get from us talking to Emily about this character archetype that is within Reinvent. So be on the lookout for that. That will be coming out on February 18th. So Wednesday this week. Make sure that you are following us to be able to catch that episode. It's a really great listen. But other than that, this has been Lore Drop, a Reinvent podcast.
And remember, being
fantastic starts with being a fan.
Reinvent Productions is proudly sponsored by 5 Points Corporation Lubbock and Savannah Rashida Photography, as well as our other wonderful community patrons. Our home base in Lubbock is Hollingsworth Hall Cultural Center at 4228 Boston Avenue. For more information on how to support our 501c3 organization, you can check out our website at www.reinvent-productions.com. To directly support our upcoming audio drama, you can become a Lore Drop sponsor. For just $10, you can sponsor an episode of this podcast. All donations will go towards support for our upcoming production of Children of Destiny Cataclysm Season 1, which will begin releasing episodes June 22nd, 2026. Funds will go towards paying our wonderful voice actors and creative staff for their fantastic talent and time. We have over 30 artists globally working on this production, and we can't wait for you to hear it this summer. You can donate at givebutter.com/Lore Drop sponsor. You can also find us on Instagram Instagram and TikTok at reinvent.productions, as well as on Facebook and Twitch, where we stream gaming and a look behind the scenes on how we create our new works. Be sure to follow us to stay in the loop about upcoming productions, auditions, and more. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode of Lore Drop.